He ruled the underground with an iron fist. She vanished without a trace 6 years ago. Now, in a quiet corner restaurant, the most powerful man in the Korean mafia just saw his past walk through the door, carrying 3 identical faces that mirror his own. 3 5-year-old boys. 3 secrets. 1 impossible truth. She thought distance would protect them. He thought she was gone forever. But some debts can't be outrun, and some loves refuse to die. This is the story of the crime lord who lost everything, and the woman who carried his world in her womb while running from his shadow. Hello, everyone. I'm back with another powerful Afro-Korean story that will stay with you long after it ends. Before we dive in, please help me reach 1,000 subscribers by hitting that subscribe button. Your support means the world to me. Now, let's begin this unforgettable journey together. He didn't go to restaurants anymore. Not ones like this. Small, warm, smelling of garlic and laughter. Places where normal people lived normal lives. Min-jae hadn't been normal in 15 years. Not since his father handed him a gun and called it a birthright. Not since blood became currency and fear became respect. But tonight, he needed quiet. Just 30 minutes without the weight of an empire pressing on his chest. Without bodyguards hovering like shadows. Without the constant hum of violence waiting to erupt. So he came alone, to this corner of the city where no one knew his name, where the lights were soft and the music low, where he could sit in a booth by the window and pretend, just for a moment, that he was someone else. The waitress appeared before he could open the menu, and the world stopped. Her. Min-jae's hand froze on the table. His breath caught somewhere between his lungs and throat. 6 years. 6 years of searching. 6 years of ghosts and unanswered questions. 6 years of waking up reaching for a warmth that was never there. And here she was, holding a notepad, wearing an apron, hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, eyes that once looked at him like he was something worth saving. Soo-min, his wife, his vanished, impossible, beautiful wife. She didn't see him at first. Her gaze was down, professional, tired. Good evening. Can I start you with... Then she looked up. The notepad slipped from her fingers. For 3 seconds, the universe held its breath. The restaurant faded. The noise dimmed. There was only her face, pale, shocked, terrified. There was only the truth crashing between them like a wave neither could outrun. Soo-min. Her name tasted like morning on his tongue. She took a step back, then another. Her hands trembled as she bent to pick up the notepad, eyes never leaving his. You shouldn't be here. Where should I be? His voice was low, controlled. The kind of calm that preceded storms. Looking for my wife, the one who disappeared 6 years ago without a word. The one I tore this city apart trying to find. Tears pooled in her eyes but didn't fall. Min-jae, don't. He stood slowly, and even that small movement carried the weight of the power he wielded. Don't say my name like you have the right. She flinched, and he hated himself for making her. But before he could speak again, before he could demand answers or explanations or just one reason why she left him bleeding in an empty house, 3 voices called from the kitchen doorway. Mommy. Min-jae turned and saw his face, 3 times. 3 little boys came running across the restaurant floor, identical in every way. Round cheeks, dark eyes, the same stubborn chin Min-jae saw in the mirror every morning, the same slight curve to their mouths when they smiled. They couldn't have been more than 5 years old. 5. The math hit him like a bullet. One of them, the boy in the blue shirt, stopped when he saw Min-jae, tilted his head, stared with an intensity no 5-year-old should possess. Mommy, why does that man look like us? Soo-min's face drained of all color. Min-jae couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process the impossible reality standing 3 feet away, wearing matching sneakers and curious expressions. Sons. He had sons. 3 of them. And she had hidden them from him for 6 years. Soo-min. His voice cracked on her name. What did you do? She didn't answer. Couldn't. just stood frozen between the man who once promised to burn the world for her and the 3 little boys who were her entire world. The restaurant had gone quiet. Other diners stared, whispered, sensed the tension crackling like lightning about to strike. Min-jae's bodyguard appeared in the doorway. Tae-ho, always 3 steps behind, always watching. He took one look at the scene, and his hand moved toward his jacket. "Stand down." Min-jae's command was absolute. Tae-ho froze, confused, concerned, but obedient. The boy in the blue shirt, the brave one, stepped forward. "Are you making our mommy sad?" Something in Min-jae's chest fractured. He lowered himself slowly, carefully, until he was eye level with his son. His son. The words felt impossible even in his mind. "No, I would never make your mother sad." It was a lie. He'd made her sad 1,000 times. Every time he came home with blood on his hands. Every time he chose the family business over her pleas to leave. Every time he became the man his father raised instead of the man she believed he could be. Then why is she crying? Min-jae looked up. Soo-min's face was wet now, tears streaming silently down her cheeks. "Because," Min-jae said softly, "sometimes grown-ups cry when they see someone they haven't seen in a long time." The boy considered this, then nodded, satisfied. "Oh, like when Grandma visited from Nigeria and Mommy cried for a whole hour. Nigeria. So she'd gone home. Back to her roots. Back to the warmth and color and life she'd found before him. Before his darkness swallowed her whole." The other 2 boys had grown bolder now, creeping closer. One of them, wearing a red shirt, tugged on Min-jae's sleeve. "You're really tall. Are you a superhero?" The question was so innocent, so pure, that Min-jae almost laughed. Almost. "No, I'm not a hero." "Oh." The boy frowned. "Then what are you? A killer, a crime lord?" The man mothers warned their children about in whispered voices. "I'm..." Min-jae's throat closed. "I'm your father." The words fell like stones into still water. Soo-min made a small, broken sound. The boys just stared. The one in the green shirt spoke first. "But Mommy said our daddy had to stay far away because bad people wanted to hurt him." Truth wrapped in protection. Love disguised as abandonment. Min-jae stood slowly. His eyes never left Soo-min's face. "Outside. Now." She shook her head. "I can't just leave. I'm working. The boys are coming with us." His tone left no room for argument. "Along with whoever's watching them while you work. We're going somewhere private, somewhere safe, and you're going to tell me everything." "Min-jae, please." 6 years, Soo-min." His voice cracked like thunder. "You took 6 years from me. 6 years of their lives. First steps, first words, first everythings. So no, you don't get to please me. You don't get to ask for mercy. Not yet." She was trembling now. Full body shakes that made him want to reach for her, to hold her, to whisper that everything would be okay. But he couldn't, because nothing was okay. "There's a car outside," he said quietly. "Black sedan. Tae-ho will escort you and the boys. I'll follow. We'll go to the penthouse, neutral ground. And then..." He paused, swallowed against the emotion clawing up his throat. "And then, you're going to tell me why you ran. Why you hid my sons from me. Why you let me think you were dead. I never wanted you to think I was dead," she whispered. "Then what did you want me to think?" She looked at him with eyes full of ancient pain. "That you were free." The word hit him harder than any bullet ever had. Free. As if loving her had been a prison. As if their marriage had been chains instead of salvation. "Let's go." He couldn't stand here anymore. Couldn't look at her face and not break. "Before I do something we'll both regret." She nodded, whispered something to her manager, gathered the boys with shaking hands. And as Min-jae watched his sons, follow their mother toward the door, he realized something terrifying. He'd built an empire on fear, ruled an underworld with absolute power, made men twice his size tremble at his name. But 3 5-year-old boys and the woman who left him, They had the power to destroy him completely. The penthouse sat 40 stories above the city. Floor-to-ceiling windows, marble floors, art worth more than most people earned in a lifetime. Min-jae had bought it 3 years ago. Never stayed here. It was too empty. Too quiet. Too much like the home Soo-min had left behind. Now she stood in the center of his living room, arms wrapped around herself, while 3 little boys explored with wide eyes and careful hands. "Don't touch anything," she warned them softly. "Let them touch whatever they want." Min-jae closed the door, locked it, not to trap her, just to keep the world out for a few hours. Nothing here matters. She looked at him then. Really looked. And he wondered what she saw. The boy she'd married at 23? Young and stupid and so in love he couldn't see straight? Or the man he'd become? Harder. Colder. Stained with choices that couldn't be washed away. "You look tired," she said quietly. He almost laughed. 6 years, Soo-min. 6 years of searching. Of wondering if you were alive or dead. Of hating myself for not being enough to make you stay. Yeah, I'm tired. It wasn't about you being enough. Then what was it about? She glanced at the boys. They'd found his piano, untouched in 3 years, and were pressing keys with delighted giggles. "Can we talk privately?" she asked. Min-jae nodded toward the hallway. "Second door on the left. Tai-ho will watch them." His bodyguard appeared from the kitchen, a ghost in an expensive suit. He looked at the boys with something close to wonder. Everyone in the organization knew Min-jae had been married once, that his wife had vanished, that he'd never been the same after. No one knew about this. About them. Soo-min followed Min-jae down the hall into his office. Dark wood, leather chairs, a desk where he'd planned operations that ruined lives and built fortunes. She closed the door behind them, and finally, they were alone. "I was pregnant when I left." Min-jae's world tilted. He'd suspected. Of course he'd suspected. But hearing it confirmed. 3 months, she continued, her voice steady now, resolute. "I didn't know it was triplets yet, just that I was carrying your child, our child, and I was terrified. Of me? Of them." She gestured vaguely toward the door, toward the invisible threat that had haunted their marriage. "Your enemies. Your father's enemies. The people who wanted you dead and wouldn't hesitate to use a pregnant wife to get to you." Min-jae's jaw clenched. "I would have protected you. Protected them. Like you protected yourself?" Her eyes flashed. "You came home with knife wounds, Min-jae. Bullet holes. Once, you collapsed in our hallway bleeding from your side and told me not to call a doctor because you couldn't risk the hospital reporting it." He remembered. God, he remembered. "I couldn't raise children in that world," she whispered. "I couldn't nurse babies while you were out there risking your life every night. I couldn't send them to school wondering if today would be the day someone decided to hurt you by hurting them. So you ran." "So I ran." She nodded. "Back to my family in Lagos. Changed my name. Started over. Worked 3 jobs to keep us afloat. Raised them alone because I thought." Her voice broke. "I thought it was better for them to have no father than a dead one." Silence swallowed the room. Min-jae moved to the window, stared out at the city he controlled, the empire he'd built, the throne he'd inherited and never wanted. "You should have told me. Would you have let me go?" No. Never. He would have locked her in the safest place he could find, surrounded her with an army, abandoned everything to keep her close, which was exactly why she hadn't told him. "Their names," he said quietly. "Tell me their names." She smiled. Small. Sad. "The one in blue is Ji-hoon. He's the leader. Brave. Stubborn. Exactly like you." Min-jae's throat tightened. "Red shirt is Dae-jung. Quiet. Thoughtful. Loves books and music. He's the peacemaker. And green? Taemin. Wild. Funny. Never stops moving. He's the one who'll give me gray hair by 35. 3 sons. 3 perfect, impossible miracles." "Do they know?" Min-jae turned to face her. About me. About what I do? They know their father is important, powerful, that bad people would want to hurt him if they knew about them. I told them. She paused, wiped her eyes. I told them you loved them so much you stayed away to keep them safe. Another lie wrapped in truth. I want them in my life, Sumin. I know. I want you in my life. She closed her eyes. Min-jae, I'm not asking you to come back to the hell we left behind. He crossed the room, stopped just inches from her, close enough to smell her perfume. Jasmine, still the same after all these years. I'm asking for a chance, to know my sons, to prove I can be the man you needed me to be 6 years ago. Can you? She looked up at him. Can you walk away from your father's empire? From the blood and the power and the fear? He wanted to say yes. Wanted to promise her the moon and stars and every safe tomorrow she deserved. But Min-jae had never lied to her before. He wouldn't start now. I don't know, he admitted, but I want to try. She studied his face for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Okay. You can see them, get to know them, but slowly, Min-jae. Carefully. They're just little boys. They don't need to know about guns and enemies and all the darkness you carry. Agreed. And when, your world comes for us again. She straightened, met his gaze with steel in her eyes. I'm taking them and disappearing. For real this time. Somewhere you'll never find us. It should have felt like a threat. Instead, it felt like hope. Because she'd said when, not if. She still believed his world would come for them, which meant she still knew him, still understood the life he couldn't escape, and was willing to try anyway. Deal, Min-jae whispered. And for the first time in 6 years, he let himself believe that maybe, just maybe, he could have both. The empire and the family, the throne and the love, the darkness and the light. The boys fell asleep on Min-jae's couch. It happened slowly. First, Tae-min, curled against his mother's side, thumb in his mouth. Then, Dae-jung, sprawled across the cushions with a book about dinosaurs still clutched in his small hands. Finally, Ji-hoon, the stubborn one, fighting sleep until his eyes simply couldn't stay open anymore. Min-jae watched from across the room, silent, still, afraid that if he moved, if he breathed too loud, the moment would shatter, and he'd wake up alone in his empty penthouse again. Sumin stroked Ji-hoon's hair with practiced tenderness. The gesture was so familiar it hurt. She used to touch Min-jae like that, in the early mornings when sunlight painted their bedroom gold, when the world felt small and safe and theirs alone. They're beautiful, he said quietly. She looked up, smiled, and for just a second, she wasn't the woman who'd run from him. She was simply the girl he'd fallen in love with in a university library. The one who'd laughed at his terrible jokes and kissed him in the rain and promised forever without knowing what forever would cost. They are, she agreed. Ji-hoon has your temper, gets frustrated when things don't go his way. Dae-jung has your focus. Once he starts something, nothing can pull him away. And Tae-min, she laughed softly. Tae-min has your smile. The real one. The one you only show when you think no one's watching. Min-jae's chest tightened. You remember that smile? I remember everything, Min-jae. The confession hung between them like smoke. He moved closer, slowly, the way you approach something wild and precious that might bolt if startled. Sat on the opposite end of the couch, not touching, just present. Tell me about them, he said. Everything I missed. So she did. She told him about the pregnancy, how she'd been sick for 5 months straight, how she'd cried when the ultrasound showed 3 heartbeats instead of 1, how she'd given birth alone in a Lagos hospital with only her mother holding her hand, screaming Min-jae's name even though he was an ocean away. She told him about their first steps. Ji-hoon at 11 months, determined and fearless. Dae-jung at 13 months, careful and calculated. Tae-min at 14 months, wild and laughing. She told him about their first words, how Jihoon said mama, but it sounded angry, like he was scolding her. How Daejung whispered book and refused to say anything else for 2 weeks. How Taemin's first word was no, and he said it about everything. She told him about birthdays and scraped knees and the time all 3 got chickenpox at once, and she didn't sleep for 4 days straight. She told him about the life he should have lived, the life she'd stolen from him. And with every word, Min-jae felt something inside him breaking and rebuilding simultaneously. "I'm sorry," Soo-min whispered finally, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry, Min-jae. I thought I was protecting them, protecting you. But I took everything from you, your sons, your chance to be a father. Stop." He reached across the space between them, took her hand. Her fingers were cold, trembling. "You did what you thought was right, what you needed to do to keep them safe. I'm angry, Soo-min. I'm furious, but not at you." Then at who? At myself. He squeezed her hand gently. "For building a life so dangerous you had to run from it. For choosing my father's empire over your peace. For not being the man who could give you the safe, simple life you deserved. I never wanted simple, Min-jae. I wanted you. You wanted the version of me that didn't exist anymore." She shook her head. "I wanted the version of you that you were too afraid to become." The truth of it cut deeper than any blade. Outside, the city glittered. Thousands of lights. Millions of people living ordinary lives, going to ordinary jobs, raising ordinary families. Min-jae had never been ordinary, never had the chance. His father had made sure of that. "I met with my father 3 weeks ago," Min-jae said quietly. "Told him I wanted out, that I was tired of the violence, the control, the endless cycle of revenge and power." Soo-min's eyes widened. What did he say? That men like us don't get out, that the empire is in our blood, that walking away would make me weak. A target. Min-jae laughed bitterly. "He said I'd be dead within a year." Min-jae? He's probably right. Min-jae met her gaze, held it. "Every enemy I've made, every deal I've broken, every man I've destroyed, they'd all come for me the second I stepped down. Leaving doesn't guarantee safety, Soo-min. Sometimes it just changes who's hunting you. So what are you saying?" He looked at his sons, 3 perfect little boys who'd never asked to be born into this legacy. Who deserved baseball games and birthday parties, and a father who came home every night without blood on his conscience? "I'm saying I don't know how to do this," Min-jae admitted. "I don't know how to be their father and the man I am. I don't know how to keep you safe while still being the person you need me to be. I don't know how to choose between the empire and the family." "Then don't choose," Soo-min said softly. "What?" "Don't choose. Not yet. Not tonight." She shifted closer, rested her head on his shoulder. A gesture so familiar his body remembered it before his mind could catch up. "Tonight, just be here. With them. With me. Let tomorrow's wars wait until tomorrow." Min-jae closed his eyes, breathed in the scent of her, Jasmine and home and everything he'd lost. "I don't deserve this," he whispered. "No one deserves anything, Min-jae. We just get what we're brave enough to fight for." So he wrapped his arm around her, pulled her close. And together, they sat in the silence, watching their son sleep. Outside, the empire waited. The enemies, the violence, the throne built on bones and blood. But inside this room, for just a few hours, Min-jae allowed himself to be something else. Not a crime lord, not a killer, not the heir to a criminal dynasty, just a father. Just a man who'd been given a second chance he didn't deserve, but would die to protect. And when Jihoon stirred, opened sleepy eyes, and mumbled, "Daddy?" before drifting back to sleep, Min-jae knew there was no empire in the world worth more than that single word. Morning came soft and golden through the penthouse windows. Min-jae woke to find himself on the floor, blanket draped over him, 3 small bodies curled around him like puppies seeking warmth. Sometime in the night, the boys had migrated from the couch to where he lay, and now they slept tangled in his arms and legs, breathing in perfect rhythm. His sons. The reality hit him fresh, raw, overwhelming. Sumin stood in the kitchen making coffee. She'd found his shirt, an old Columbia University one he'd forgotten he owned, and wore it like a dress. Her hair was messy, face bare. She looked 23 again, like the girl who'd stolen his heart in a library between shelves of forgotten poetry. "They gravitate toward you," she said quietly when she noticed he was awake. "Even in sleep. It's like they know." "Know what?" "That you're theirs." Min-jae carefully extracted himself from the tangle of small limbs. Stood. Stretched. Every muscle in his body ached from sleeping on marble floors, but he'd never felt better in his life. "How do you drink your coffee now?" Sumin asked. "Black. 2 sugars. Still the same then. Some things don't change." She poured 2 cups, handed him one. Their fingers brushed and the contact sent electricity up his arm. 6 years. 6 years since he'd touched her. Since he'd been this close. Since he'd allowed himself to hope. "We need to talk about logistics," she said. "About what happens next." Min-jae nodded, reality creeping back in. "Where are you living?" "Small apartment in Queens, 2 bedrooms. It's not much, but it's safe. Quiet. The boys go to public school 3 blocks away. I want to set you up somewhere better, somewhere safer." Min-jae, not a penthouse, not some fortress, just somewhere you don't have to work 3 jobs to afford. Somewhere the boys have space to grow. He paused. "Please, let me do this much." She studied him over the rim of her coffee cup. "You know what happens if your father finds out about them. About me. He won't. You can't promise that." "No," Min-jae agreed. "But I can make sure that if he does find out, they're protected, guarded, untouchable. I don't want my sons growing up surrounded by bodyguards. And I don't want my sons growing up without a father because someone put a bullet in my head." His voice was harder now, sharper. "This is the world we live in, Sumin. You ran from it, but it didn't disappear. It's still here, still dangerous. And now that I know about them, now that I've touched them and held them and heard them call me daddy," his voice cracked, "I can't unknow that. I can't go back to pretending they don't exist. Which means they're in danger whether you like it or not." Silence filled the kitchen. Then Sumin set down her cup, walked to him, placed her palm flat against his chest, right over his heart. "Then we do this smart," she said. "We keep them out of your world, separate. I don't show up at your office. You don't bring violence to their doorstep. We meet in neutral places. You build a relationship with them slowly, carefully, like a normal divorced couple co-parenting. We're not divorced." The words hung between them. Sumin's eyes widened. "Min-jae, you left. You vanished. But you never divorced me. Never filed papers. Never made it official." He covered her hand with his own. "Which means you're still my wife, Sumin. Legally. Technically. In every way that matters in my world. That's just paperwork. Is it?" He leaned closer. "Because it feels like maybe, just maybe, some part of you didn't want to let go either." She pulled away, wrapped her arms around herself. "Don't do this." "Do what?" "Make me hope." Her voice broke. "Make me believe that we could somehow work. That you could leave your empire, and I could trust you again, and we could be a family. Because we both know how this ends, Min-jae. We already lived it once. That was before." "Before what?" "Before I had something worth changing for." The confession sat naked between them. From the living room came the sound of stirring, small voices. The boys waking up. Sumin straightened, wiped her eyes, became a mother again instead of the woman who still wore his ring on a chain beneath her shirt. Min-jae had seen it, the gold glinting against her collarbone. She thought she'd hidden it, but he noticed everything about her. Always had. "Mommy?" Ji-hoon appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. "Where are we?" "We're at A friend's house, baby. The tall man's house? Yes. Ji-hoon considered this, then walked directly to Min-jae and stared up at him with serious, searching eyes. Are you really our daddy? Min-jae's throat closed. He knelt down. Eye level. Yes. Why don't you live with us? Because. How do you explain criminal empires to a 5-year-old? How do you justify choosing violence over family? Because I have work that's very far away. Work that keeps me busy. Do you want to live with us? The question was so simple, so pure, so impossibly complicated. More than anything, Min-jae whispered, then why don't you? Ji-hoon, Soo-min started. It's not that simple. Because sometimes, Min-jae interrupted gently, grown-ups make mistakes, big ones, and it takes a long time to fix them. But I'm trying, every day, to be better, to be the daddy you deserve. Ji-hoon studied him for a long moment, then nodded, apparently satisfied. Okay, he said. Can we have pancakes? The shift was so sudden, Min-jae almost laughed. Yes, we can have pancakes. With chocolate chips? With chocolate chips. And whipped cream? Whatever you want. Ji-hoon smiled, actually smiled. The expression transformed his serious little face into something bright and beautiful. I like you. 3 words. 3 perfect, devastating words. Min-jae had built an empire, ruled an underworld, made men twice his age bow at his feet. But nothing had ever felt as important as his 5-year-old son saying, I like you. I like you too, Ji-hoon. The other boys appeared then, sleepy and curious. Dae-jung clutching his dinosaur book, Taemin bouncing with energy despite just waking up. Are we having pancakes? Taemin asked. We are. Can I help? Of course. And just like that, Min-jae found himself in the kitchen with 3 little boys and the woman he'd never stopped loving, making chocolate chip pancakes at 7 a.m. like some kind of normal family. It was the best morning of his life. Outside, his phone buzzed. Messages from Taeho, from his lieutenants, from the empire that never slept. But for once, Min-jae ignored them all. Because some thrones weren't worth sitting on, and some kingdoms weren't built with power. They were built with pancakes and laughter, and 3 little boys who called him Daddy. 3 months passed, 3 months of careful routine, of scheduled visits and neutral meeting places, of Min-jae learning how to be a father in stolen hours between running a criminal empire. He attended soccer games in disguise, sat through school plays from the back row, brought books and toys, and showed up every Tuesday and Thursday like clockwork, because Taemin had told him those were the daddy days. And slowly, so slowly he almost didn't notice it happening. Something shifted. The boys stopped looking at him like a stranger, started racing to the door when he arrived, started asking, when is Daddy coming? Instead of, is that man coming again? Soo-min softened too, let him stay longer, invited him for dinner, laughed at his jokes again. But the empire still waited. His father grew suspicious, asked questions, noticed Min-jae's attention divided, noticed the way he left meetings early, noticed the way his focus had shifted from expansion to protection. You're distracted, his father said one evening in his office, smoke curling from an expensive cigar, eyes sharp as broken glass. Weak. I'm strategic, Min-jae corrected. Consolidating power instead of spreading ourselves thin. You're lying, his father stood. Walked to the window overlooking the city they controlled. I've known you your entire life, Min-jae. I know when you're hiding something. I'm not. Is it a woman? Min-jae's blood went cold. Ah, his father smiled. A predator scenting prey. It is. Well, that's expected. You're young, powerful. Of course you'd want companionship. Just make sure she understands her place. Mistresses are fine. Distractions are acceptable. But nothing comes before the family business. Min-jae said nothing. Just stood there feeling the trap close around him. Bring her by sometime, his father continued. I'd like to meet the woman who's stolen my son's focus. She's no one important. Then it shouldn't matter if I meet her. It was a test, a challenge, a threat wrapped in fatherly interest. Min-jae left the office with his hands shaking. That night, he showed up at Soo-min's apartment unscheduled, unplanned. She opened the door in pajamas, hair wet from the shower, eyes widening in concern when she saw his face. What's wrong? We need to accelerate the timeline. What timeline? The one where I leave, where I get you and the boys somewhere safe, somewhere far away from here. He pushed past her into the apartment, checked the windows. The locks, the escape routes his mind had already memorized. My father's asking questions. He knows something's changed. It's only a matter of time before he starts digging. Soo-min closed the door. Min-jae, slow down. I can't slow down. He turned to her, and she must have seen something in his eyes because she stepped back. He's a monster, Soo-min. Worse than you remember. Worse than I ever told you. If he finds out about you, about the boys, he won't see them as grandchildren. He'll see them as leverage, as weakness, as something to exploit. Then we leave. Tonight, right now, we pack up and go where? Min-jae laughed bitterly. You think running worked last time? You think disappearing will keep you safe? He has people everywhere, resources everywhere. If I walk away, he'll tear the world apart looking for me, and he won't stop until he understands why. So what are you saying? I'm saying I need to end this, permanently. The words hung in the air like smoke from a gun. Soo-min's face went pale. You're going to kill your father. I'm going to remove the threat. That's the same thing, Min-jae. No, it's survival. He moved closer, took her shoulders gently. He'll never let me go. Never let me walk away. As long as he's alive, as long as he controls the empire, you and the boys will always be in danger. But if I take over, if I control everything, I can dismantle it from the inside. Shut down the worst operations, make deals, create an exit strategy that doesn't end with all of us dead. You're talking about patricide. I'm talking about protection. It's still murder, Min-jae. I've done worse. The confession exploded out of him. I've done so much worse. You want to know how many people I've killed? How many lives I've ruined? How many families I've destroyed in the name of the empire? He was shouting now, months of restraint crumbling. I stopped counting at 17. 17 people dead by my hand. And that was years ago. So don't talk to me about murder like it's some line I haven't already crossed 1,000 times. Silence crashed through the apartment. Soo-min stared at him, tears streaming down her face. Then you're exactly what I ran from. The words hit like bullets. No, Min-jae whispered. No, I'm trying to be better. For you. For them. This is me trying. This is you becoming your father. She pulled away, wrapped her arms around herself. Don't you see? He wants you to kill him. Wants you to take power through violence because that's how it's always been done. That's the cycle, the curse, and you're playing right into it. Then what do you want me to do? I want you to walk away, right now, tonight. No plan, no strategy, just leave. Let the empire collapse without you. Let someone else fight over the throne. Choose us. Choose your sons. Choose the life we could have if you were just brave enough to want it more than power. It should have been an easy choice. His family or his empire. Love or legacy. Light or darkness. But Min-jae had been raised in shadows. Had spent 32 years learning that power was survival. That weakness was death. That walking away didn't make you noble. It made you a target. I can't, he said finally. Not like this. Not without protecting you first. Then you've already made your choice. Soo-min, go. Her voice was hollow. Empty. The boys are asleep. They don't need to see this. Don't need to see you choosing violence over them. Again. I'm choosing their survival. You're choosing your fear. She met his eyes. And in that moment, he saw it. The final death of hope. You're so afraid of being weak that you can't see strength doesn't come from empires, Min-jae. It comes from walking away from them. He wanted to argue. Wanted to make her understand that love wasn't enough when bullets started flying. That good intentions didn't stop knives or bombs, or the 100 different ways his world could destroy her. But she'd already turned away. Already closed the door on him. Again. Min-jae stood in the hallway of her apartment building and felt everything inside him shatter. He could go back, could apologize, could promise to leave tonight, to abandon everything, to trust that somehow love would keep them safe when 3 decades of experience had taught him that safety came from power. Or he could do what he'd always done. Choose the Empire. Protect them by controlling the threat. Become his father to kill his father. Become the monster to slay the monster. He pulled out his phone. Called Taiho. Gather the loyalists, Min-jae said quietly. The ones who answer to me. Not him. It's time. Time for what, boss? Min-jae looked at Soo-min's closed door. At the life he wanted more than breathing. At the choice he was making. A coup, he said. We take the Empire tonight. And somewhere inside him, the last piece of the man Soo-min had loved died, leaving only the crime lord, only the heir, only the darkness he'd been running from his entire life. He told himself it was for them, for protection, for love. But as he walked away from that apartment, Min-jae knew the truth. Some men were born for empires, and some empires were built on the graves of the men they could have been. He just prayed that when the smoke cleared, when the throne was his and the threats eliminated, there would still be something left worth saving. Still be a family waiting for him. Still be a chance. But as the elevator doors closed and the city stretched out before him, hungry and dark and waiting, Min-jae wasn't sure which empire he was about to conquer. The criminal one built on blood, or the one built on hope. He'd know by morning, one way or another.